as a technical producer, and I've been in radio since. I now host 2 radio shows at Kaya FM. Published author as well. Have written a memoir. I do have intentions of writing another, God willing. I don't consider myself so much a rapper anymore, as I'm not necessarily active in music, but of course, it'll always be a passion of mine. And speaker, like you say, although I'm not a Toastmaster or have a particular qualification, I've just always been a loudmouth and had the gift of the gab. That runs in the family, by the way. You may know my half-sister, Lerato Mvela, says she's an award-winning actress, so it definitely does run in the family. Otherwise, you know, property is started off as a passive interest of mine. It is now an active passion, something that I went and I studied, and I continue to study more. I'm now pursuing my BBA at Regenesis because I have long-term hopes of attaining my MBA, God willing again. And that's in a nutshell who I am. I think you're still on mute, my brother.
Thanks for that. It does show indeed that in life you can't really say that this is the path that this is definitely your purpose, or this is definitely the path for you. Now I see someone that says, boy, oh no, it's not that one. It does show that indeed in life, you can't really say that this is the definite path for me. Life takes you wherever it wants to take you, to take you. Like in your case, you thought at that when you grew up, you thought that rapping was the life for you, only to find at the later stage that you've got other interests, and you must then what I also like is that you then try and support whatever interest you have with academics, which is very good. I'm also so happy to hear that there's another book coming, because when I read this one, I really thought this is a very good book. It's an amazing story that you tell. I like the way you tell the story, because you share with us your experience. But then you don't leave us with just your story, which is what most of these memoirs or biographies do, where someone just tell you their story. In your case, you share with us your story, but then you say to us, this is what I've learned in this story. This is what in my journey, this is what I've learned in this journey that I've went through. And although you don't put it like this, you give us some wise words to say, this is what you believe, how people should approach that particular aspect that you're talking about. And I would urge everyone, I don't necessarily read novels and books. I like self-help books. And for me, this fits exactly on those kinds of books that I read. Now, I wanted to just find out from you, in terms of the book writing process, now that we're talking about the book, how did you find that journey?
So I must give credit to my co-author, Sis Babalo. She was absolutely incredible. What happened was I first got a deal with my publisher, Penguin. And initially, they had approached me about a different concept. It had something to do with my radio show called The Winner Circle. And they wanted to almost do a collection of stories from all the guests that I've hosted, right? Because every single week, if you listen to my radio show, I host what I call a champion of the week, which is, I think, similar to what you're doing, where I want to hear from an industry expert, somebody who's, who we can learn from, who we're inspired by. So they wanted to sort of populate all that information into a book. And I sort of resisted, and I said, there's too many sort of hurdles, there's much red tape, I'd have to consult all of these people, there's intellectual property issues and so on. And then instead, I said to them, look, I've always had a desire to publish a memoir, except I didn't feel like I had enough life experiences, because I always think you must always go through some major tragedy and then sort of recover and go on to become a billionaire. And that's the only time we will listen to your story, right? But Once I sort of engaged with the folks at Penguin, told them sort of my story broadly, you know, they thought, look, you don't have to be at the end of your journey to start documenting it, you know, so you can start documenting it now. Should there be major developments in the future, of course, we will continue to write. Plus, you know, we can all learn from each other. We can all learn from our stories. So then it was agreed that I would go on and write this memoir. Then it was asked to me, would I be willing to and able to write it myself? Would I have the capacity? And again, very intimidated. I had never written a book. And so I opted for the option of having a co-writer. And Sis Babalo was then my co-writer, did a fantastic job. How we did it was a series of interviews that she actually recorded on a dictaphone, and then she transcribed it. Then we would sort of consult and change facts and details. And then later, once we had done all the groundwork, we then took it to an editor who were again Penguin nominated, and then they would sort of call and consult. It was very much an inclusive process and check details and timelines and fact check until we sort of came to the final product. In hindsight, I do think I could have written it myself. Not to say I'm unhappy with the product itself, but I feel like there are areas I could have fleshed out a little bit more. There were areas that I think were became an over focus, which of course I wouldn't necessarily have made an over focus. But as I say, it is my story. It's accurate. I'm absolutely happy with it. The response has been phenomenal, and that has been the process. And I look forward to doing it again.
Yes, and for someone else, if when you do it again, what are you going to change? I'm thinking here, there's probably someone here who's thinking of writing their own books. There's a lot of people that are writing their own books, whether, like you say, they really have something to share, or they just want to write a book because everyone else is writing a book. What did you think is what did you say is the I don't know, for the lack of a better word, is the best place of starting when you're writing a book? Should you be doing it yourself, or should you be getting a co-writer, someone who's experienced like Papalo, or how do you go about doing that?
So first of all, I absolutely agree. If you can have the capacity, the time, the story, please do write a book, because one, that's sort of how we document our life. That's the part of our legacy as well. Two, that's another form of income. Warren Buffett says that the average millionaire has on average 7 sources of income. So that's definitely another source of income, but also because we can all learn from each other by sharing our story. That's how we learn. That's how we develop, by exchanging stories. So let's get into the culture of writing, of exchanging information, of sharing, of growing, of developing. The how-to, there's no right or wrong way. I suppose it all depends on your own sort of capabilities, time, resources. If you're able to write it yourself, by all means do, but always make use of the services of an editor, somebody just to help you, you know, make it for a riveting read. You know, my book, for instance, was literally halved because they felt a lot of the information was either repetitive, or I had mentioned it before, or was better suited elsewhere. So it's always nice to have an editor. A co-writer helps as well, but again, it's all preference. If you feel like you can best express yourself and you're able to do it yourself, by all means do. Otherwise, the services of a co-writer takes nothing away from the process as well.
Okay, thanks. And I think we somehow explored the book, which is, like you say, is a riveting story. Again, if anyone is still thinking about it, it's there at CNA. Where else is available? Where else is it available, ProVerb?
I would rather either go on one of my platforms, because my Linktree link there will send you directly to where it's available online. But all the sort of regular outlets, including your exclusive books, your CNAs, all stock it as well. You can buy it digitally as well. So just rather go on my website, proverbmusic.net, or my various platforms at ProVerb Music. The Linktree link there will send you to where it's available.
Yeah, and just a last point from my side. Now, here is Zamo saying it's 199 on Take-A-Lot. So there you are. You people, you know where to find it. Just the last shot on my side in terms of the book. And again, it's an amazing book that you have written. And I'm not saying that because of you are here. Even with the people, the friends that I've shared with your book, the way you tell the story again. I wanted to raise a point now. You share your story in all, you share all aspects of your life, and it seems to me it's authentic. It's not something that is meant for publishing. It's your authentic self. You share yourself. You share your heart in the book, and this is another reason why I thought of inviting you here, because when you spoke to, I saw you on the NCA, no, it's not the NCA. It was this new channel, this new TV channel, the interview that I just forgot the name now, where you seem like you have learned to take full and total responsibility of your life. The way you were answering the questions there, you are grateful for all the experiences in your life, both good and bad. You are grateful for them, and you do not blame. You give credit to the people that have assisted you to be where you are today, but you do not blame anyone who was part of anything that did not go well in your life. Do you want to share with us in terms of where is that coming from, and how important is that if one wants to pursue success?
I have learned that all of my biggest sort of blessings, lessons have all come from misfortune, you know. So every time there's a mistake, there's a failure, there's a flaw, there's a falling, there's a collapse, a fallout, you know, I always come out sort of having learned something. So I've kind of learned to treasure all of the challenges and be grateful for them. Not to say that I invite them, you know, but when they do come, I sort of try and learn as much as I can from them. And if I sort of look back on my life, all of the strides, all of the progress I've ever made was generally followed by some kind of crisis that took place in my life, whether personally, whether professionally. All of my best gigs were either because I had just been fired from another gig. All of my sort of thinking, you know, with property, for instance, was because there was a property that I lost and I just wanted to get it back, you know. So all the strides and progress and steps forward that I've made was because just before that, I had just fallen. So it's kind of taught me to appreciate all of the challenges. And when they come, I actually get excited because I know here's an opportunity to learn, here's an opportunity to grow, and here's an opportunity to do better.
That's wonderful. You have indeed traveled the journey. You have learned from the stuff that has happened in your life. Now, let me not forget this question because I'm going to be in big trouble. We are about to get to talk about money. My daughter wanted to know, when did you get your first check, as either business or employed or whatever the case may be? Maybe in this one you can just talk about the sources of income in terms of how many streams do you have, and if you are free to share with us in terms of what is it that you are doing to earn your living.
Sure. So my first check was back in 2002. I studied sound engineering at, it was LMB campus at the time. It later became a Damlin. And I really excelled at sound engineering. So while I was a full-time student in the day, I was employed to lecture part-time students in the evening. And that's where I obviously started getting a small stipend. And then later I was employed as a student advisor at the very same institution. And that's where I got my first check. I used to earn about 3.5K, which I was very happy about. And I used to live off the 500, and I used to send the 3K to my mom because around about that time I wanted a car and I wanted it badly. I didn't even know what the process was, how much they cost. But all I knew is I just sent it all to my mom, you know, which is actually something I'm very happy about because, you know, she could see how dedicated I was to the process, that she helped me, you know, and I think she ended up buying it for me, not because I had saved enough, but because she could appreciate how determined I was.
Yes.
You know, I was living on beans and tin food and beef and chakalaka because I just wanted this car, man. So anyway, but a year later, because I was studying sound engineering, I got my job at YFM as a technical producer for DJ Fresh. And that was my first break into the industry and what would be the rest of my career. As far as what I do for a living now, that's the next question, right? Now I honestly try and diversify as much as I can. And that was born of necessity. You know, I realized very early on in my entertainment career that entertainment, particularly music, is very short-lived, very unstable, very unpredictable. And, you know, more often than not, it's because of factors that you have zero control of. You can work as hard as you want in the studio, but you can't control how people are going to respond, how much support you're going to get, and how successful you're going to be. You know, there's absolutely no telling. If you look at the most successful runaway hit singles right now, I can bet you the guys who recorded them had no idea they were going to enjoy that much success from that one song or that one project. Inversely, there's many guys who work very hard, tirelessly, spend hours, get the best producers, shoot the best music videos, yet enjoy no support, no success. So that volatility, how unpredictable the entertainment business is, made me realize that if I'm to thrive in life, I have to diversify and cast my net as wide as possible. So when I started on television in 2003 as a television presenter on Channel O, at the same time, I was a technical producer on radio. I knew then I still needed other sources of income. So, you know, I started working on my craft as a speaker at the time. You know, I started, you know, trying to write. I wanted to actually write and be a journalist as well. That never took off, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it. But I knew from early on that when the gigs go quiet, my radio gig will at least sustain me. If my radio gig sort of, which is also very unstable, then at least I had either live performances or I had MC gigs. So I recognized very early on that you have to do as much as possible. So what I do now is I get income from publishing my book. I get royalty income from all the music that I used to make. I co-own a production company, Sick Entertainment, and we produce, among other things, South African Idols, Miss SA, Face of Africa. My team has just come back from producing Idols in Nigeria. We're currently in our 12th season. Of course, I am a host as well. So host of South African Idols as well. I have 2 radio shows on Kaya FM, and I have a property portfolio that I manage. At the moment, I'm sitting on about 8 properties. My goal was to get to 10, although I've recently done an investment management course that has made me rethink putting all my eggs in property. And then, of course, I do sort of emceeing functions, speaking. I've got a couple of endorsement deals as well. And of course, digital content as well is how I generate income. So I try and just diversify my portfolio as much as possible. Of course, I serve on some boards as well. I was serving on the board of Flight Center. I happen to most recently now serve on the board of SAMRO, the South African Music Rights Organization.
Yeah, your plate is really full. How do you
and I'm a student, brother. I'm a full-time student. Imagine.
That's exactly my point. How do you manage your time? When do you get the time?
You know, I have a simple process that works for me, and that is I do one thing at a time. So I break my day up into a to-do list, and I literally have an old school diary that I keep like this, and I list everything that I'm going to do for the day. Uh, and so just to try and not lose focus or scatter my brain, once I do one thing, I try and focus on only that. If I know that I've got a conversation with Ekasi Properties from 10 a.m., the diary is blocked off. That means from 10 a.m. until about, say, 11:30. This is all I'm focusing on. And I approach everything this way. You know, if I'm on the set of Idols, I'm trying not to be distracted. I'm just doing Idols and nothing else. If I'm on radio, the focus is just my radio show. If I'm studying and I'm on my books, it is all about the books and nothing else. And by sort of, you know, doing everything one at a time, you know, I'm often surprised at how much you can actually get done and how much time is actually left over, you know, only because when you did it well. You try and execute everything to perfection. So you don't have to revisit, except you're studying, of course. But if you execute it well once, more often than not, you don't have to revisit it. You tick it off, you move on to the next. And before you know it, you've achieved a lot.
What I'm learning here is that it is true, as they say, that we all have the same 24 hours. But what's important is that is what you do with those 24 hours. Because
Sure.
if you then go waste part of it, you are going to lag behind from other people. Now, in terms of social life, I know you've got.
Can I quickly just add a point there to what you just said?
Yes.
I think it's very important to also allocate time to waste, you know, because we are beings who need rest. We need to recharge. We need to refuel. We are creative beings, you know, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with allocating time, which is for you. If you are a gamer, get on your game. If you are a musician, I've got instruments at home. I like to play a little bit of piano, a little bit of guitar, some drums. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with killing time, you know, because that's how you refuel, that's how you keep life exciting. Remember, as much as we are pursuing our goals, we also need to be fulfilled and happy and satisfied. Otherwise, we become zombies and slaves to our grind, which we shouldn't be.
Yeah, that's the first. Allocate time to waste.
There you go.
I was about to ask in terms of social life, whether you also put that on diary. I know you've got kids, which you love dearly. So I know probably when you have them, whenever you have them, you make sure that you dedicate that time specifically for them and nothing else. You let nothing
100%. Like everything else, you know, when you are a parent and you present, you have to be absolutely so uninterrupted. Give them their time, you know, look them in the eye, listen to their stories, participate in their activities. So like everything else, you know, when you do it, you have to do it to the fullest.
Yeah, and talking about kids, I just want to touch on this one, the one that's most painful and a significant hurt in your life, that you try to build a home for them, but obviously that did not go as you would have preferred. Obviously, we know that the man above has got his own storyline in terms of how our lives are going to turn out. We've got our own version of how we want things to turn out, but they don't normally turn out as we want. Now, I want to just you to share with us in terms of that, what has that taught you about life and planning for things and having hope about things how things you want to go.
Look, my dad always says, never plan too much. And I never understood it for a long time, but now believe me, I do. And that's because life is often unpredictable. More often than not, the wind will change direction and you just have to adjust your sails, you know. But it's not about, it's not so much about what happens to you, but more how you react to it, who you become as a result of it, and what you learn from it. So for me, as we mentioned at the earlier part of the conversation, all of these unpredictable changes, I have learned from, and I feel like I'm a lot more and better equipped for life going forward. So absolutely, things didn't go as per my plans, but I've been able to adjust my plans, develop new plans. They say the goal must always remain intact and solid, but the plan should be fluid and adaptable to achieve that goal. So I've had to be fluid, readjust my plan, but the end goal remains the same. And that's fulfillment, happiness, and success, right?
Mm. Yes, and maybe if we just build up on that and talk about money, we hear about money, wealth creation, wealth preservation.
Yeah.
How has that changed? We have been taught in this platform specifically that, for instance, with the property portfolio, we are going to get into that. I've seen there's a lot of people that are commenting around the property portfolio. We're going to get into it. But I just want to find out, we've been taught in this platform that for you to have, depending on how far you want to take your wealth creation and your property investments to go. But if you want to go big, you must then put your properties in a trust, and you must have a trust that is owned by a company. The company then owns the properties. That in a nutshell. Now I want to just talk to us about, when you were married, did you had that structure? Has things changed now, since you've seen that life can sometimes not turn the way you would have wanted to do? I'm not really sure, when did you start acquiring your properties, but anyway, you still had your rights, your music rights, and everything else that you wanted to protect. Basically, what I'm trying to get to is, how did you protect your wealth before, and whether that has changed now that you have experienced part of life?
No, brother. None of that was in existence. I knew nothing about it. My self-empowerment journey only started later in life. I'm what you would call a late bloomer. That's why I'm always so eager to learn now, because I'm only learning all of these things now. So until about 5 years ago, I only had one property, the one I lived in, and that was it. And I knew nothing else. I was still blindly trying to be a rapper and all that. And everything else I was kind of doing by chance. But in the last, say, 5-6 years or so, I've really begun applying myself, learning and trying to do things by at least my understanding. So my property sort of investment journey only started in the last 5 years. Yeah, that's it. Everything is a learning curve. So I'm trying to say nothing before. You're asking about the life prior. No, brother, I was just trying to be a provider. That was it, man. But now I suppose I'm trying to empower myself.
Okay. Yeah, no, we learn best by experience. We can learn.
Hence I say, after the crisis, man, there's such an opportunity to learn. I feel like, I'm grateful for my crisis, because I may not think the way I do now. I may not care as much, for all I know, I'd still just be trying to be a rapper and nothing else, but I experienced crisis, man. But look, since then, the trajectory and the path of my life has changed direction. So I thank God for the crisis, man.
Yes, sometimes these things are brought into our lives to make us better people. In fact, you do 100%. say in your book that the person that you were before literally died at that hospital when the incident happened, and you woke up, you were a new person, ready to live. It was just amazing for me. I know I'm digressing now, but it was just amazing for me that in that particular weekend, you were ready to go and do a successful idol show. And I'm wondering, where does this guy get the energy to be able to do something like that? One day you are in hospital, the next minute you are on TV, and you there, no one realizes that anything has happened to you on the previous day.
Brother, I could tell you many stories like that, man. I can send you images of me in a drip in the ad break, you know, because I had severe flu and I was so sick. But when it's go time, it's go time, you know.
But where does that come from? Where do you think that comes from?
Because now, brother, I'm on the constant pursuit of the level beyond the next. I am relentless and unapologetic about my desire for the next level. My desire to succeed isn't going to be stopped by any obstacle. No coronavirus formed against us. My focus is unshakable, man. I owe myself this success. I've lost my grandmother and my mom. My dad continues to support me, but these are people who gave me all the opportunities they could in life. I didn't capitalize on them now. I don't punish myself for the past, but I've certainly learned from it. And so now I'm unapologetic about my pursuit of it. And speaking of success and perhaps more specifically money, you know, for a long time, you know, we're taught to be so apologetic about it, you know, and I certainly am not. I hope we can break that cycle. The reason among the many that we're stuck in the poverty cycle is because we're so apologetic about money, you know, and I certainly am not. And I feel like all of us are not. This is why we're having these conversations, right? So I'm not apologetic about it. That's why I believe in a reward system. You know, I tell myself, look, if I can achieve say 5 properties within this given time, I'm going to reward myself and buy my dream car. Then I say, all right, if I can get another 2, I'm going to reward myself and go on this type of holiday, get myself this kind of thing. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Enjoy this life. This is why we work hard, damn it.
Yes, yeah. They say life is like a field. So we're planting every day. So when the harvest come, you must not complain.
Yeah.
And most importantly, you must not apologize.
100%.
If you do well, do not apologize. If you do badly, do not complain. Take it on the chin and move on with your life. Now it does show from the things that you have done. For instance, now I'm just thinking about what you have done with your health and your body. Man, you used to be like me, weighing 100 kgs. And look at what you've done with it. How did you do that? give me the tips, and then also tell me, but most importantly, tell me, how do you maintain it? Because losing weight is very easy, very easy. What was most difficult is to maintain it, and it's the same thing with success. You can have an overnight success. What's important is how you then maintain, how you then keep on the momentum going, because you have this one lucky strike and then that's it with you. So how did you lose the weight, and how do you maintain it?
So first of all, I disagree with you there, man, and I could be wrong, but yeah. I personally disagree. It is not easy, you know, and even to maintain is even worse, but losing it is not easy. So for me, I was, because I happen to work on television, I would often watch myself, and I would hate that process, you know, because I would hate how I look. You know, I really started to dislike how I was feeling. I was lethargic. I was sort of lazy. My energy levels were really poor and low. And so I took a personal decision to say, you know, if something is to change, you know, then it's definitely up to me to do something about it. So in the beginning, this was around, let me think, like 2014, 2013, thereabouts, right? I obsessed, and I had a trainer, and I had 2 dietitians, and you know, I was off of meat, and I was just eating vegetables, and you know, and I sort of went all the way across, you know, and you know, I was gymming sort of in the morning and gymming again in the afternoon and running and doing all these things, and I did lose it within about 7 months or so. You know, I remember I literally lost. I went from 100 kgs. And I was weighing something like like 78, and I was like thin, but then I realized it's not sustainable. I couldn't sustain that. First of all, I used to work at 947, and I was doing the early breakfast show. So I was on 4 to 6, and I would go to the trainer then from about 6:30. Then I stopped working there. And so arriving at training for 6:30 wasn't working for me anymore. Not to mention the trainer was there where outsurance used to be, So I live in the West Rand. It wasn't making sense anymore. Then I couldn't afford the 2 dietitians at some point. It got too expensive. And also the grocery list they were giving me was, and the point I'm getting at is it became impossible to sustain that kind of lifestyle. And so I reached a compromise with myself to say, all right, let me change my life in a way that I can sustain, So, I sort of relaxed my sort of eating habits a little bit, cut out your sugars and your starches and your pops and the like. And those are things I'm able to maintain, So till today, I still don't sort of take any sugar. I try and avoid all the fizzies, try and avoid alcohol as much as I can. And just try and be active. I do slack as often as I do slack, but I do get into the gym as often as I can. But I've also tried to make my life convenient, and I built a gym at home, so it's there. Just this morning, I was trying to run. I could barely make it to the 10 minutes. But it's just about, a realistic lifestyle, and not working towards a goal as much as working towards a lifestyle.
I'm asking all these questions here and there, aspects of your life, because for me, it's a trend that we see in people that are in the pursuit of success. If you are successful in one part of your life, you're likely to be successful in other parts of your life that you give attention. But if you are against lacking in one part of your life, that is likely to draw down the other parts of your life that you are trying to push. For instance, sure. in the issue of health, it doesn't matter how successful you are. You can be a billion rands, but you're not going to have a long life. You're not going to have a, like you did mention, you're not going to have a fulfilling life in all respects. If I'm just making an example that you are unhealthy or you are overweight. So it's important that when you pursue success, you also look at all the aspects of your life and make sure that they synchronize and go all together.
That's a powerful lesson, my brother. Thank you for sharing that. I must also just tell you the sentimental motivation to being healthy was also because my mom passed away from health complications. She was a big lady as well, and that didn't necessarily help in those complications. So it's also like a sentimental reminder, yes. To say, if we are to enjoy this life and sort of live a long, fruitful life and be there for our kids, we need to sort of take care of our mental health and our physical health and our emotional health as well.
Very true, my brother. My dad passed away because of ushukela. So whenever I reach 100, I'm reminded to say, this thing is in my genes. I can't let my weight to go that far because there is this sugar that is in my genes, and I'm using what we call it, because we call it sugar. But let's move from sugar. Let's move from sugar and get into business. Tell me how did you get to be in business? What motivated you to? In the book, you say you've never been an employee personally. You've always signed contracts through your companies. How did you what motivated you to get into business? And the reason why I'm asking this is because of most of our celebrities, and it also goes back to what you said when you started working, and the fact that you then decided to have all these sources of income, because you know that your career could be short-lived. people like me who are full-time employed, we live under false, what's the word? False promise that
security.
Yeah, false security that we are full-time employed and will never be fired. So we don't have the pressure to do side hustles so that they can support us in case something happens. But I'm just trying to get from you in terms of how did all this come? What motivated you to get into business? And how did you then get appointed into be a non-executive director? And just maybe share your experience with us in terms of that level, working with big corporates.
Sure. So for me, like I think I've mentioned, it was all born of necessity. So realizing that, it's unstable, the growth prospects are very limited. Plus, we live in this country, where, we grew up watching television where entertainers grow on to be millionaires. But in South Africa, realistically speaking, maybe the landscape is changing now, but realistically speaking, you can reach the roof very quickly. Plus, your age catches up with you. By 30, you're considered old because there's some 18-year-old who can do what you do better than you can. So for me, it was born of necessity. And then when I was trying to, buy property and so on, and I realized, I don't have pay slips from anybody because I'm a freelancer here and a freelancer there and a gig there. Then I was sort of advised initially by my tax practitioner to register a business and register myself as a business. And this was in 2009. And once I began to operate as a business, it shifted my entire thinking, and sort of got me into different spaces. So now I operate as a business. Everything is in collaboration. I'm not employed to any particular company, but it's all through my business, whether it's my sort of radio hustle, TV hustle, eventing hustles, even the property hustle, everything happens through the business. So I am a business. Things like how I got into non-executive directorship is only because, again, and I posted this the other day, you speak yourself into opportunities, So I recognized that I'm a brand. I actively work on my personal brand. And by the way, we're all brands. And any brand partnership is all positioning. If you understand and recognize the value proposition, then you can speak yourself into any opportunity because it's a trade of value. So in conversation, perhaps with either an MD or a chairperson of a particular company, you start off, and my departure point is always to say, what is the value that I can bring? What is the value that I offer? And once I have laid out my value proposition, then it becomes easier to engage thereafter. And it applies to networking, to business opportunities, to sort of gigs. Anything speaks to your value proposition. If you understand what your value is, then you're able to position yourself accordingly to either collaborate, to partner, to work with.
Speak yourself into opportunities. I love that.
Absolutely.
Now, let's move on now to our exciting part, which is properties. You've told us a bit in terms of how you got in there. Maybe do you want to share with us in terms of your portfolio? What's the makeup of your portfolio and your strategy?
I absolutely do. Now, Budundu, you are very much established in property. I can tell from from your intro and your profile. So please do teach me, because I'm still learning this process, but I will tell you how my process has been. And in fact, I invite anybody who's a part of this conversation. Let's teach each other, because I know for sure I haven't cracked the code, but let me tell you about my process, and I'm keen to hear about yours. So I initially had my one property, right? But I had keen desires of getting a bigger property. Actually, let me actually take a step back, if I may. So initially, while I was my initial family home, right? I had my second child and I was getting ready to upgrade to a bigger house. But I couldn't sell the previous house. You know, I struggled to sell it. And so while I was looking to sell it, I decided to get tenants in there so long to help me pay for my new bond. Come in. And so I realized, excuse me a second, in 10 minutes. Apologies. So I then realized that there's this concept of getting rental income, and then you can get a bond to pay for itself, right? But I did eventually lose that property. And in my current property, I decided to then replicate the same principle. Once I had paid it off, I said, all right, let me see if I can get myself into a bigger property. And so I went to an auction and I bid for this particular property. And mind you, I was late for this auction. I didn't even get to see the whole house, but that's neither here nor there. So I bid for this property, which needed a bit of TLC. And while I was refurbishing and fixing it, I then developed a keen appetite for refurbishments, because then I built relationships with the contractors. You know, I had a painter, I knew a plumber, I knew an electrician, and these are all relationships I now built because I had to refurbish my one property. And I'll tell you the importance of building this particular network was because while I was refurbishing this property, I would still go and view other properties. On Sundays, I befriended a few agents, TT, who I'm very sure you know, and you should get on this channel as well, showed me another property which was incomplete. It was a big property, but very incomplete. It was about 60% done. It was pretty much just the skeleton, right? And so I then decided that I want this property, because also at the stage now, I had established an appetite for refurbishing, okay? And so once I finished that other property, which was meant to be my primary residence, instead of moving in there, I decided to get tenants in there, all right? So at this stage, I now had tenants from my initial primary home. I then had tenants in the home I had bought at an auction. And I was using those funds to refurbish then this third property that I had bought, which was incomplete. Now, that was a little bit of a risk because the bank wouldn't finance this property because it was incomplete. So I had to then draw up a contract with the owner to say, I will take the risk and invest and refurbish this property. But as soon as it's refurbished, obviously, then I can take it off your hands at a reduced rate, you know, because I'm obviously investing in fixing it. And so I took this risk and I continued to refurbish this property, which until today is now my primary residence. This is where I live. And then since then, I guess I just kind of replicated that process. But the mistake I was making then was I would always try and pay off the property first, you know, so using my gig money, my idles money and everything, and I would literally pump it into this bond because in my brain, this is how you're taking advantage of the investment and you can enjoy this rental income to replicate. But then I went and I did this course, this short course, this property development and investment. And there I learned powerful tools, man. I learned about a concept called positive leverage, which the long and short of it is your tenants pay for your bond. And I never quite understood this process, but since I have, it loosely means you pay a deposit into a property. It has to be like a decent deposit because you still want to maintain your cash flow as well. So you pay a relatively decent deposit such that your rental income covers your actual monthly bond and you make a modest margin on that rental income, right? Because one, this allows you to replicate. I must also mention this though, that the more your property portfolio grows, the better the relationship you can build with your bank, because you can leverage on your existing properties. So once you have your first property, it is significantly easier to get your second property because you almost borrow against your first one, and so on. So you know, the portfolio has kind of grown exponentially as a result of it sort of the natural life cycle that way. So that's kind of how I ended up at my current 8. Now, I'll tell you an interesting story. I also did a course on investment management, right, which is just a pure finance course. And this course has challenged my theory on putting everything squarely in property. Because until I had done this course, I was going to put all my eggs in property. I understand property. I get it. It's a moderate effort in that I only ever have to sit and do the books once a month, you know, invoice my tenants, do follow-ups. By the way, I manage it all myself. And it has really served me well, especially now during the lockdown when all the gigs and everything halted. I'm still able to enjoy income from my tenants and stay afloat. But this investment course that I've been doing has challenged this theory and made me question the wisdom of putting all my eggs in property. So since then, I have then started diversifying. You know, the liquidity of a property is very questionable. You can't always be liquid unless, of course, you have flexi reserve and all the sort of bonds. So now I've just kind of scattered my portfolio a little bit more, and I continue to do so with the help of a financial advisor. That was a long-winded answer, Nick.
Yes, yeah, but you basically answered all my questions. It's just amazing that you do the property management yourself. Are these single tenant units, or these are multi-tenanted unit, which means you've got different tenants in each unit, in one unit?
No. So I personally have my own preferences, you know. Yes. So these are single tenant units, and by that I mean I like families, I like young professionals, and I enjoy you know, profiling my tenant. So I know there's a big boom on the student market. I personally am not a fan of that because the maintenance costs are high. You know, they sort of like their parties and whatever. So again, it's a preference, you know. So I myself, I like families, you know. The older, the better. I find generally works for me, you know, and young professionals as well. What I like about these sort of new developments like the Baldwin and the like, these lifestyle estates, is I find generally the kind of tenant that I would attract is these young up and coming professionals, you know. So obviously the agent would do the necessary background checks and the credit checks and so on. But once the tenant is signed on, I would pay the once-off fee to the agent who then finds me the tenants. And of course, a renewal fee, which is annual generally. But the monthly admin and maintenance, I'm happy to do myself. It's once a month. And yeah, I don't mind the process. Once you've got an accounting software, it sort of generates the invoices. You just have to monitor the increases and the delayed payments or the underpayments, etc., and do the follow-ups. But otherwise, it's a system that I like, works for me. I would gladly replicate, but I'm just in the phase of my life where I'm diversifying right now.
So where are you diversifying to?
So again, with this investment course that I did, I'm sort of looking into one other sort of asset classes. I'm looking into shares, everything from your short term, you know, your Satrix and the like. I'm looking into, you know, buying shares into actual companies, your Naspers, even though those shares are so expensive, my brother, but you know, we gotta do what we gotta do, you know. So I'm trying to get some global exposure now, you know, by throwing my sort of investments a little bit, you know, across so I can take advantage of hedging. I've recently understood what hedging means. So because we've got a volatile economy, I find that we can take advantage of hedging by throwing our investments in other markets, so that when even though it's doing well right now, but if our currency, struggles, you sort of benefit from the hedging concept. So hedging in a nutshell, I'm sure you all know, but in case you don't, it's taking advantage of a competitive currency. So in a currency which thrives off of the poor performance of our currency, so you would kind of throw your resources in there, so that if ours does badly, then you would enjoy by having growth because of exposure in that market. So these are the kind of things I'm exploring now.
We must invite you back for a session in finance. I see you have learned a lot.
Well, no. But, the first thing they tell you is, this does not mean you're a financial advisor, and you shouldn't give financial advice. So my advice would be to seek expert advice from a financial advisor. Even now still, I just have better debates with my financial advisor, but at least I'm a little bit empowered to know how to strike the conversation and to explain to him what it is I would like and the kind of exposure that I would like, but I still rely on the advice of a financial advisor.
What is amazing about what you just shared now up to this far, ProVerb, is that you seem to be hands-on on everything that you are involved in. You run your production companies, you present idols, you manage your own property investments, you go out to look for them, you find them, you manage the tenants. You're now learning about finance. It seems to me that you want to understand how shares work, and why don't you see the need to let some of these things be done by other people? Like, for instance, you would have, I know there are people that use agents that would just give a question a call and say they build relationship with an agent. Your agent knows exactly what you want. You then say to them, I'm ready to buy another property. Can you find a property for me for a million rands? And then the agent find it. You just go, you say you're happy. Then you invest, and then you wash your hands. You just see the money coming. Why don't you see the need to delegate all of these things that you're doing by yourself?
So I'm probably a bigger believer in collaboration over letting somebody else run it. One, I feel like even if you were to delegate, you still need to know. So I'm very much in the learning part of my career, my investment career, my property career. And I feel like the best way to learn is to actively, well, you can learn formally by studying, doing courses, engaging in these kind of conversations and engagements where we learn from each other. But also, I want to make my own mistakes. I want to make my own trial and error. I remember in the beginning of my property sort of career, all my properties were in one area, and then I realized along the way that is not smart, because should the area itself collapse, your entire portfolio goes down with it. And I started casting my net all over the show and getting properties outside of Johannesburg. But even now, exploring, property investments outside of the country even. And these are all things I sort of had to learn along the way. So before I sort of hand over to somebody to manage it on my behalf, I even need to know what instructions I'm giving them, what requests I have, what are my sort of preferences and my ideal situation. I need to be able to look at the profile of a potential tenant and know how to make a smart and informed decision, and you can't know any of these things if you don't know. I can't only, and this applies to everything I do, I can't only host idols without knowing, how can we sort of draw up another contract? How can we ensure that there's another season? How many more productions? If I sit in pitches, how do I generate and create new business? So you have to be actively involved, and holistically so. I suppose same with my radio show. I have to curate the content. I have to be there for the music, because I am ultimately the custodian of my journey and the custodian of my success. So if it's to work out, I need to be at the driver's seat. If you sit in the back seat and let somebody else drive, should there be a car accident, and I'm taking the metaphor too far now, but should it crash, should it all go wrong, you need to be able to go back to the drawing board and say, why, what happened, what will you do different? But if it's run by somebody else, I suppose you'll never know, you'll never learn. How will you do anything differently?
Okay, let's move on towards the conclusion. If you were looking back on your life, financial life specifically, as a whole, with COVID, how do you think you prepared yourself? I know, for instance, these streams of income have helped you now, because we can't have live shows, we can't have any gathering, although we can still do some of these things over the net. But I just want to establish, how do you think you've managed to cushion yourself against COVID, and so that we can learn in terms of the future? How do we?
Is bad.
I think we lost you there, Pa.
Apologies, ProVerb. I wanted to find out how do you think you cushioned yourself, or what is it that you could do better? Looking back now in terms of your finances, how would you have prepared yourself better if you would have known that COVID is coming?
Look, my friend, as I was sort of trying to say, I don't think I specifically, was shielding myself against COVID or any outbreak or any unforeseen. I think I was shielding myself against the uncertainty of my life as it is. Remember, I'm an entertainer, man. It's already uncertain before any outbreak. You know what I mean? So I think I did that by diversifying, by casting my net as wide as possible. In investment, one of the fundamentals that we're taught is that you mitigate, the risk or the intensity of the risk by diversifying. So I think I mitigated a degree of risk, and I say degree because it'll never be 100%, but by casting the net wide. So fortunately, other hustles were able to sort of step up when the outbreak happened, and I was already, I think, out of the gig circuit anyway, so I wasn't totally reliant on the gig circuit, So I was able to reposition my brand, digitize my business model, generate a lot of new business by going digital. So hosting a few webinars and just doing what I do, but just digitally. So I think adaptability served me well. I think the ability to learn, regardless of the challenges, watching how other people switch their business models served me well. But my biggest and most powerful tool, and still the thing that I live by and preach, is diversify.
Yes, yeah. Let me ask you my last question, and then we can take one or two questions from the floor. And I want to take you back now from where we started.
Right.
In the book, you mentioned that you were a very good tennis player. You became a good swimmer. You just told us now that you became a very good sound engineer. There's all kinds of things that have happened to you that you have become very good at. And it is clear to me that this is not by mistake, because, for instance, I can see now the way you're explaining the principles of finance. If someone were to come towards the end of this conversation and not knowing you, they would swear that we are talking to a financial expert. Now, I want to find out from you, what are the few traits, what are the few characteristics of yourself that you believe that have propelled you to be the person that you are today? What is it about you that makes you the person that you are?
I think a characteristic that we all have and can develop is that of being teachable. for as long as you are teachable, you know, there's absolutely no limits, because you can always learn. I always try and use every single opportunity where I engage to listen first. I know I speak a lot, but I try and listen as much as I can, to learn, to develop new skills, new ideas. You know, I don't consider myself all that naturally gifted at anything, you know, but my one trait that works for me is that I'm always willing to learn, to listen. My departure point is always, I don't know, so please teach me. I ask. You know, when I first sat in my Samuel board meetings, my gosh, they threw all these terms and concepts, and it was all so above my head, you know. But I decided to have a meeting with the chairman, and literally came with a notepad, and I would sit and I would break it down and simplify it and ask. And I think that has certainly worked for me, that constantly trying to remain teachable, trying to learn from others. And I think that's a trait we all possess within us, you know. If we want to learn from each other, we certainly can, which is why I would always, given a chance, make time for these kind of conversations, because I also get to learn, and we get to sort of exchange, you know, because you learn something new, you know.
Oh, you disappeared there, Peter. I thought you were gone. Lastly, I don't actually, after having this conversation with you, and I knew this also after reading your book, I will ask this question anyway. What kind of legacy do you want to leave once you're gone? How do you want us to remember you?
Damn, that's always a tough one, man. Look, I think, you know, when I was younger, I used to have these really massive end goals with in terms of life and so on. But my end goals have become so much more simplified, you know. Now, where I am in my life is I desire only for peace, for fulfillment, and for happiness. And I would love to be remembered as somebody who contributed to the peace and fulfillment of others. So if we take nothing else, it should be that, you know, because I have sort of learned the value of it. It's the basis and the backbone, and to work hard, to take on opportunities, to remain teachable and humble and hungry, because we are at peace. If you are sort of constantly at war with yourself, then you cut off your ability to learn. You cut off your zest for life, your desire to pursue any kind of level, you know. So if nothing else, let it be for my peace and for my desire to empower others to pursue their own peace.
Well said, Proverb. And ladies and gentlemen, that's it from me.
Sir.
Let me just find out from you whether you've got any questions for Proverb. Please just go straight to the question, no long background, go straight to what you want to know. You may raise your hand. Oh, Kabelo.
Thank you, Ndumiso. So there's a concept Pro spoke about, which is positive leverage. So I find it to be quite interesting, and in the context of COVID, positive leverage talks about relying on rental to pay for a bond. Now, if you positive leverage, say 6 properties, where you rely on rental to pay for properties, and it so happens that COVID hits hard and the tenants are not paying, does it not affect you harder in terms of debt, and how does one manage that proactively without necessarily worrying about it that much? Thanks.
100%, brilliant question. You know, I actually had this conversation with Euphonic the other day. We met at an old mutual gig back end of last year, December sometime. And look, remember all of these principles, right? Don't exist in silos. So when we speak about positive leverage, remember the first fundamental principle is first to speak about diversity. So you still need multiple streams of income for positive leverage to even work at all. So you should never reach a point where any one sort of investment or source of income or sort of investment direction is the sole thing you're dependent on, because then it'll fail. None of us anticipated that the COVID-19 was going to hit. So we all had to adjust. We all had to, give our tenants certain leeway and agree, and some even give up to 3-4 months of not paying at all, as long as there's a recovery plan. But because that can't be your only source of income anyways, one should always support the other. Remember when I spoke about mitigating risk by having multiple sort of income streams? This is where it would apply, where the one would support the other. Otherwise, the whole system will collapse.
Thank you, Pro. Constance?
Thanks.
Siskoni?
Hello,
Can I also
everyone.
just, sorry, Siskoni, before you respond, I just want to add a final point to that previous question. Remember, we can also leverage our relationships with the bank, because we were all hit equally by this thing. So I remember clearly one thing I certainly took advantage of was engaging my bank to say, just as I'm no longer getting income because my tenants were all affected, so they were able to relax as well. Obviously, the bonds that I was still able to maintain myself, I did, but the ones that were most affected, the bank was also able to adjust as well. Because as I say, it affected us all across the board. I apologize. Next question.
Siskoni?
Hi, everyone. Hello. My question is, I think I'm also a bit like you. I like doing things myself. So I wanted to know the accounting software that you're using. Which one is it, or which others that you can that I can use for my business?
I have I use a software called Free Agent. So just go to freeagent.com.
Okay.
Yeah, freeagent.com. I use that for my own sort of business, as in ProVerb Music CC, but also for my property portfolio as well. So I have an account there. What I love about it is, well, you'll see for yourself, but you can sort of keep all your records, all your statements. It shows you who your good paying clients are, who are your consistently poor paying clients or tenants. You can sort of do your follow-ups from within the system. It has your reminders about your outstanding invoices. It's just a system that works for me. Freeagent.com.
Yeah, you see
Thank you very much.
You see what I like most about this platform and the work that I do. I get to learn from the people that come to share this, that come to share with us. I see Proverb has just disappeared, but it did say that his connectivity. Oh, you're here. You just moved. Sorry, yeah. I could not see you from my screen. We get to learn from the guests. For instance, I did not know about this accounting package, Free Agent. Thank you for that, Proverb Mtembu. And then we're gonna take the last question, Soraya.
Thank you very much, Ndumiso. Greetings to everyone. Thank you, Pro, for joining us today, and your glaring presentation is amazing. Just
Thank you, my brother.
Personal question I have for you. As a celebrity, I see that the traits that you have, they actually contradict what one would expect from a celebrity, meaning you are humble, you exude a teachable spirit, and you are down to earth. Hence, it's not hard for you to raise your hand and say, let me learn. I don't know this. Is this your natural characteristic, or is it something you learned along the way? Because normally celebs, you'd have a level of arrogance, you know, you don't want to be seen not to know things. So with you, how does this come to your natural self, or you learn this along the way?
Yeah, thank you for the question, bro. First of all, I don't subscribe to the concept of celebrity. I never have. It's not anything I want to be a part of. If anything, it's an occupational hazard. You know, I think by virtue of what I do, you are then deemed or labeled to be a celebrity. But I myself don't subscribe to that. I don't believe what we do for a living should position us anywhere higher on anyone's food chart according to who decided what makes me superior. Why? Because I'm on TV. I don't know. So I don't subscribe to the concept of celebrity. I would not like to be a part of it at all. I didn't sign up for celebrity. I signed up to be a hard worker, to do what I love and enjoy. And this was unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because I'm not a fan, a byproduct of it all. But I don't subscribe to the concept of celebrity. As far as being teachable and just being me and a regular small town kid, I think that's just who I am. I can't manufacture that. And because I want to do well. I have a family that I'd like to support, and I just want to work as hard as I can. And to achieve that, I have to learn as much as I can.
Thanks, Mthembu, for that question. Actually, you reminded me of something that I wanted to ask ProVerb before we even got to the call. I sent you an email, and this is building up on what Mthembu has asked. I sent you an email asking you to come to be a guest on a particular day. You responded very quickly to say you were not available on that day. Then we spoke about when can you be available. Then you said today you could be available this time. And we concluded just like that. I doubt if you went on to check who I am and where I come from and all of that. I just want to find out, like what Mthembu was asking, is this how you work, or this is I was just lucky?
Look, as I say, my friend, you can really speak yourself out of opportunities, and so, what if engaging with you could be the next opportunity? I suppose I would never know if I consider myself superior because, I don't know, the world decided that I am because I'm on TV. So, I treat everyone with the necessary respect for as long as they treat me with respect. I do get tons of emails, but I check them all on a daily basis. I don't necessarily engage on all, depending on what the subject matter is about. There are a lot of things that I do begrudgingly because they are part of what I do, for instance, and I have no shame in telling you, and my apologies if there are any journalists in conversation here, but journalist interviews, man, I do very begrudgingly because I honestly don't often see what they seek to achieve other than prying in our personal lives. But conversations like these that seek to build, where there's an opportunity to learn, to exchange information, to help build each other, to maybe even benefit an entire community in whatever way, shape, or form, is an opportunity that I definitely relish, because I get to engage with forward thinkers, engaged, ignited people who are looking for solutions and a way of just, breaking generational curses and cycles. How do you not want to be a part of that? This is how we change the world. This is how we change ourselves. And I definitely, was as soon as I read what it was about, what it was seeking to achieve, I knew that I was in.
You're amazing, ProVerb. Thank you. Sorai, you are the last person.
Hi, Putindu. Hi, Beth.
Hey, Surya, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for the insights as usual, and just for being such a sharing spirit as well, for your shareable spirit. It's really appreciated, and we've come to also know and believe in ourselves that we are capable and able to achieve more than we thought we could for ourselves. My question though is just in relation to property. I'm just curious on the concept of buying at auction. Would you advise one go with your your squad, so to speak, or somebody with a contracting background or construction background, and then more in relation to what are the red flags to look out for when one is at auctions looking to buy property?
Cool. That's a great question, Surya. In fact, I'm flipping in my diary here as you ask the question because I want to make a point. My next auction is on the 18th of February. Then I've got another auction on the 21st of February. So I'm very much a big believer in auctions. Now, it's a difficult dog-eat-dog sort of world because when you get there, you're fighting against companies, you are fighting against people that are in collaboration with each other. Sometimes it's the owners themselves that are in cahoots with the auctioneer because they want to push the price as high as possible. So they stand there and they outbid you the whole time. But I'm certainly a fan of an auction. One, because there's an opportunity to often, get a bargain. There's sometimes an opportunity to, if you have an appetite to sort of fix and refurbish like I do, I know a lot of people are turned off by it, so you can often find a nice opportunity that you can fix up and you can either flip, which is to fix and resell, or you can keep as an investment. And also just to kind of see what's out there, what's in the market. You can often be exposed to locations that you may never have thought of, but the auction will sort of get you into that particular space. You start networking as well, other investors as well who may put you in opportunity with other sort of property opportunities. So I'm definitely a massive fan of auctions. Sometimes I would go to an auction just to observe, just to sort of see, what a property sort of was in the market for, how long it's been in the market, what shape is it in, where is it positioned, how much is it going to go for? Because all that informs my future decisions. Then I know, all right, this property then, or at least this area, attracts this kind of market. This is the kind of tenants that you can get on here, or if you want to resell, this is what you can get from it. So all the information and all the data that you gather honestly empowers you going forward. So if not to get the actual property, but to learn from it, auctions for me, I always vote for. I hope I answered your question.
Super, more than answered. Thank you so much.
Cool. And I subscribe to all these auction sites, so they always send their newsletters and so on, and I always scroll through them, and whatever looks nice and works with my diary, I always put in. 9 times out of 10, I'm just there to observe, but every now and again, there's that gem that man, and you rather put your hand up and say something.
If I can just go further to ask, if I can engage with you, or if you can just share on some of those sites, I think that buggers bit, and I'm extremely curious. Obviously, my main goal is to build generational wealth for my kids, and I think this would be a great start. So, if you don't mind.
No, 100% happy to share. But nowadays everyone has got platforms everywhere on these digital platforms, so you can find all these auction guys. I follow them all, and every time they come up on my timeline, I literally check and I see the details and I see where it is, the location, what shape it's in, look at the pictures and scroll, check the dates, and if I can, I would definitely go. By the way, I probably shouldn't tell you, but actually, let me not tell you. There's something else that I'm working on in relation to property, but it's a little premature to share.
We're not allowing you to do that. We're not allowing you to do that. Give it to us. What are you working on?
Well, so I've pitched for like a property related concept. to another channel. That's kind of it for now.
Oh.
Wow, that will be interesting.
Okay.
That sounds really exciting.
Oh,
Thank
but
you
of
for
course, I'll keep you posted.
Yes, yeah. Drop me an email once you have it done, so that we can catch up with you once it's come to fruition. But Soraya, we host we did not focus with ProVerb today on too much on properties. We are just talking about success with him. Maybe then in the future we can have him back. He seems to be generous about his time and about his knowledge, so we can abuse that and have him back sometime to come and share and talk to us specifically about his property. But we do host, if you keep up with our social media, you will see in the next series, which will start towards the end of February to March, we're going to be doing inner city investments. And then from then on, then we move into Kokasi, back to Kokasi, then we do auctions and everything else that we've got the plan for the whole year. So we're going to deal with all of that. So just keep up with our social media. You will see what's happening. But ProVerb, I think it's an opportune time to say to you, you are amazing, brother.
Thank you, sir. You are too.
You're very empathetic and generous with everything that I must not say everything. You're generous with your time. You're generous with your knowledge. It was quite an intriguing discussion for me because you, as Mtembu did point it, you're not a typical celebrity. And I've noticed this, that also when we had Euphonic here, this is what we said to him, that there are celebrities that just are celebrities. They are out there and celebrities. And I'm not doing comparisons now because I don't know their lives, but if you look at it at face value, you can see that the success only goes as far as being a celebrity. That means you are on the social media every day. You are on the news every day, but actually there's nothing of, I'm using this word again loosely, of substance that is going on. And with people like you are a person that is willing to learn. You are a person that doesn't see himself as being better than everyone that has been on this call and everyone else that is in South Africa or anywhere else in the world for that matter. You are just like one of us. We highly appreciate your time, and may God bless you amazingly, and may you be successful and be more successful and have achieved everything that you want in this world. Thank you so much, bro. Thank you for your time.
No, listen, thank you so much, man. Incredibly kind and humbling words. Thank you to everyone who engaged and took the time to come and listen to the very little that I know, but I really do appreciate it. I sincerely hope we can do this again in the future. But thank you so much, my friend. And please invite me to the next one, even if I am not, the guest, but I'm always keen to learn and listen. So please keep me sort of in the group there in the database. But I do appreciate it. I wish you all success, and let's do this again soon.
Thank you, ProVerb. Thanks a lot, Mebra. I will definitely be hounding your inbox.
No worries at all. Respect.
Thank you, bro. Ladies and gents,
cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Let's close down.
Cheers.
So now, what is happening next? We're finalizing this series. Next Saturday, we're having Busi Sileshal. Busi is a money coach. He's an author. She's got a book, Black People and Money. So you seriously do not want to miss that session. But I will say this to you, that session is a paid session. In fact, our sessions, except for this one, the series or the success sessions where we invite people to come and speak to us about success, those are not going to be paid sessions, but the rest of them, they are paid sessions. Now with Busi is going to be talking to us about how do we access our supernatural powers? How do we become people like ProVerb, who is able to go his inner core and access it such that he can use it to achieve whatever that he wants to achieve in life. So that is happening this Saturday at 10 a.m. If you want to attend, get in touch with me, then we can arrange for you to get the link and access to that session. Now, it's me. I'm a property coach. I'm a mentor. I focus mainly on coaching, and that is, if you have an issue property related, give me a call. We sit and for an hour and we talk about it and see if we can assist. Just use me as a bouncing board. That's what I call it. Now I want to leave you with this, and I hope you learned from what ProVerb shared with us. Jim Rohn says, from testimonials and from personal experience, we have enough information to conclude that it's possible to design and live an extraordinary life. ProVerb was here. He shared with us his extraordinary life. He does not see it that way. We see it that way. But you could see from him that this is the life that he has designed. So there is your success model, ProVerb. From testimonials and personal experience, we have enough information to conclude it's possible to design and live an extraordinary life. I hope you gained a lot today, and thank you so much for coming through, spending almost 2 hours with me. I planned this to be for only an hour, but there was no way of cutting such an intellectual tricking conversation. We had to let it go until this time. Catch up with us on our social media. If you really want to join us, let me know. I will send you. In fact, I'll just send everyone that responded to the call, to this call, I'll just send them the group link so that they can then, if they decide to join our WhatsApp group, which is easier to communicate with. With that, ladies and gentlemen, go have a productive day and a productive week. And I wish you all the best in your life and everything that you're trying to do. Thank you so much for coming through. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Ndumiso. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, bye, Ndumiso.
Bye, Prawil.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Soraya.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Connie.
Thank you, Mr. Ndumiso. Bye.
Thanks, Kopano. Bye-bye.